This is the start of side 2 of the Enfield Talking newspaper. We now return to local news with Joan, who will start with sport.
Southgate finally managed to secure their first point of the season in the top flight of the Middlesex County Cricket League on Saturday as they held on for a losing draw from their trip to Hampstead. A dreadful start to the campaign had seen Southgate lose their first 5 matches, and they looked set for another difficult day after Steve Clarke, 128 not out, and Mark Devine, 121, both hit centuries to help the hosts amass an imposing 307 for 2. But Alvin Durgakaran, 77, Jamie Juning, 34, Tom Yeomans, 25, got Southgate's reply off to an excellent start by guiding them to 141 for 1. And the visitors comfortably staved off the threat of defeat as they closed on 210 for 7, despite some fine bowling from the outstanding Devine, 4 for 56.
Firstly, a football item. New Enfield 1893 manager Gordon Boateng launched the process of putting together his squad for the coming campaign when the Essex Senior League outfit held their first pre-season training session last night. Some 20 players were expected to be in attendance as the East looked to rebuild from scratch following the departure of boss Kevin Lucas and all of last season's squad. "I've got a blank canvas to go with," Boateng said, "but we've got a lot of players in mind and I'm really looking forward to the challenge. Everyone is up for it. The hard work will start from day one because we need to make sure that we hit the ground running when the season begins." Meanwhile, Enfield 1893 are looking for qualified coaches complete with CRB checks to take part in their Football in the Community project. Anyone interested should send a CV to Gordon B 92003 at yahoo.co.uk. And now for some athletics. Trent Park Running Club are holding their annual Triffic Trail 10k run on Sunday. The event, which starts at 10:30 a.m, is run over the fields and trails in Trent Park and is an open race catering for all standards. A commemorative T-shirt and goodie bags will be presented to all finishers, while other prizes will be presented to the first 3 finishers in each age group. Anyone wanting to take part can enter on the day at a cost of £13.
Enfield Ignatians will begin their London 2 North East season with an away trip to former National League side North Walsham on September 15th. Emil Hertz's squad will be hoping to build on the impressive foundations laid down in the last campaign, which yielded victory in the Middlesex Bowl, a best ever third-place finish at London 2 level and reaching the London final of the Intermediate Cup. The composition of London 2 North East is much changed as the number of East Anglian sides has increased from 3 to 5. Lowestoft and Yarmouth and Ipswich are now joined by North Walsham, Holt and Stowmarket. Essex outfit Braintree returned to the division after one season at London 1 level, whereas Stevenage have moved across from London 2 North West in place of Hampstead, who have headed in the opposite direction following the process of league restructuring.
Enfield Town manager Steve Newing has begun to strengthen his squad ahead of their first season in the Ryman Premier Division by confirming that midfield duo Dave Hicks and Joe O'Brien will be joining the club. Hicks arrives from Cheshunt and O'Brien has made the move from Potters Bar Town, but both players have Ryman Premier Division experience, with Hicks having enjoyed a successful spell at Wealdstone and O'Brien featuring for Wingate and Finchley at the start of the last season. They will add extra quality to our midfield, Newing said. Dave is a player I've been trying to get on board for a couple of seasons, and I'm delighted he has decided to come. He's a player I've always admired. He can pick a pass, whether short or long, and is very good in dead ball situations. Joe is technically an excellent footballer and has got a very good engine. He wants to be part of what is happening at this club and is excited by the challenge. They are two of the 3 players I earmarked to try and get on board over the summer, and it's pretty good that we've got both of them. Newing added they're coming to the club to play regular football, but it's down to them to prove they are as good as we think they are. Meanwhile, the Ryman League's decision to increase the size of all 3 of its divisions to 24 teams from the start of 2013 to 2014 means that only 2 sides will be relegated from the Premier Division next season.
Now I have one letter to read to you. This one written by H. Carasoy, The Vale, Southgate. And this is what, I'm not sure that it's he or she, but writes. I was surprised to read 2 letters in the Advertiser on June the 6th. One by Mrs. Yanaki, claiming Turkish Cypriots have refused to participate in the Cyprus government since 1963. As a person who witnessed these events, I would like to say that in 1963, President Makarios ignored the Turks' constitutional rights, hijacked the government, and threw out the Turkish representatives. At Christmas 1963, Greek Cypriots and Aoka started shelling and killing Turkish Cypriots. From this date until July 1974, Turkish Cypriots lived in enclaves surrounded by Greek fighters. They were shelled continuously, stopped and searched, and humiliated by Greeks at the barricades if they wanted to travel. Many Turkish Cypriots disappeared at checkpoints, and some were killed. Greeks tend to forget that Turkey intervened as the Greek military overthrew the Cyprus government and tried to annex the island. Turkey, as a guarantor country, had to intervene and save Turkish Cypriots from an inevitable massacre. Because of this intervention, the killings stopped. The Makarios government in Cyprus was reinstated, and in Greece the junta was replaced by an elected government. In the other letter from Mrs. Antoniou, she writes, the Turkish community were not mistreated. Obviously, she writes without knowing the horrible treatment Turks faced in the enclaves between 1963 and 1974, where they did not have any human rights. Mrs. Antoniou also says, Turkish forces forced Greek people out of their homes. I don't understand why she chooses to deny the fact nobody was actually forced out of their homes. But some people left during the conflict as they were scared. The majority of the Greeks chose to go to the south after the war, when a United Nations agreement was signed between Makarios and Denktaş. Turks in the south of the island were brought to the north by the United Nations. The Cyprus problem started because the Greeks did not give up the idea of union with Greece, even after the Republic of Cyprus was established. President Makarios admitted this on many occasions.
And now a letter from Councillor John Kay, a Conservative of Highlands Ward. The Environment Agency is planning to spend millions of pounds of taxpayers' money on a flood alleviation programme that won't make a lot of difference to the residents of Linkside, Slades Rise and Windmill Gardens in Western Enfield, who were badly affected by flooding on June 11th. The scheme to be submitted to Enfield Council's Planning Committee is deeply flawed, as it does not include any reference to shoring up the brook/riverbank to help alleviate the appalling situation many residents found themselves in recently. The proposed Salmons Brook flood alleviation scheme, which involves considerable work in Edmonton and at Enfield Golf Course, must be amended to protect homes in this part of EN2, in an area Enfield Council's Emergency Planning Department describes as high risk.
It appears Barnet and Chase Farm NHS Trust want to close the Accident and Emergency Department at Chase Farm Hospital and let North Middlesex NHS Trust run the Chase Farm General Hospital site as a very small hospital, says John Sturman of Southfield Road, Enfield. Also, the Barnet, Enfield and Haringey Mental Health Trust plans to close many wards on the Chase Farm Hospital site in the near future. This will free up land on the site to build 500 plus homes. The government plans to let many private health providers work with the NHS in order to look after general and mental patients. This, I believe, will simply fragment NHS care in England. It remains my view larger NHS trusts need to be set up in London along with larger councils in order to cut costs and improve services. What people want in the modern world is standard NHS and council services.
And I have a letter from Elaine Colin and Neil Ranasinghe. They're from Cancer Research UK, which deals with cancer campaigns ambassadors. And they say, we are writing this joint letter as we want to discourage children from starting to smoke. Elaine from Enfield is the parent of a 23-year-old who has friends who started smoking in their early teens. One has been diagnosed with mild emphysema, and a couple of others went on to take hard drugs. Neil from Grange Park is a parent of 2 young children and very worried about the amount of children who start smoking each year. More than 180,000. That's why we are urging everyone in Enfield to back Cancer Research UK's The Answer is Plain campaign that calls for all branding to be removed from tobacco packaging. Research shows that the striking logos and distinctive designs make cigarettes more appealing to children. So as the government consults on whether to put all tobacco in standardized plain packs of uniform size, shape and design, we are asking people in Enfield to show their support for this vital measure by signing the Answer is Plain petition. You can sign the petition at www.theanswerisplain.org.
Now to general news, no more letters. Thousands of London bus workers are expected to strike on Friday in a dispute over Olympic payments. The 20,000 workers from all of the capital's bus operators are due to walk out from 3 a.m. on Friday until 3 a.m. the following morning. Unite has announced. The union has demanded that all bus staff should receive a £500 bonus for working during the Games, in line with extra cash already announced for those working on the railway network. Unite says it is to compensate workers for a massive increase in their workload and has threatened further strikes in the run-up to the Olympics unless a compromise is reached. It would be the first London-wide bus strike since 1982.
A chance encounter between teenagers which led to a youthful romance is still going strong more than 6 decades later. Leslie Lack met Pat, his wife of 60 years, when his sister brought a friend home from school, and his matchmaking sibling looked on as romance blossomed over the next few years between the pair, ending up with Leslie and Pat walking down the aisle of St Michael at Bowes in Wood Green on June 21st, 1952. Attributing their long and happy marriage to a strong bond between them, Leslie told the advertiser, "The secret to our marriage has been pulling together." And the 85-year-old who served in the Royal Artillery during World War II remains a romantic at heart. Asked about the best thing about being married to Pat, 82, for all these years, he said, "Sharing our lives together and enjoying each other's company has been the best thing about the past 60 years, and we have been blessed with good health." Daughter Sarah Anthony agrees with her dad. She said, "The secret of their long romance is their positive, happy outlook, no matter what. They always support each other, and I don't think that I have ever heard them row. They have lots of interests outside of the home, both together and individually, which keeps them active." The couple, who live in Grange Park, will celebrate their anniversary together tomorrow. Leslie said he was inspired to tell the advertiser their story after reading last week's paper, which featured another diamond couple, Grace and Don Eldred, who will be celebrating 60 years of marriage on the same day. "I just saw that and felt I should call," Leslie explained in hushed tones over the telephone. "But it's going to be a surprise for Pat, so she mustn't find out we're talking. I'm hoping it will be a good surprise for her."
Volunteers with theatre company Chicken Shed are to celebrate their work with the charity. More than 250 volunteers will each bring a stone or pebble to the charity's base in Chaseside Southgate on Monday. The pebbles, which will be signed with the volunteers' names, will be laid at the foundations of the new shed. It is being built to house the charity's new BA, an inclusive theatre performance course, available to students from September. Jenny Kettleton, the volunteering program administrator at Chicken Shed, explained the significance of the gesture. She said, "This is a celebration of our volunteers. They are the foundations of Chicken Shed and really are an integral part of the organisation." Miss Kettleton said of Chicken Shed, showing its gratitude to the volunteers, "The point is, the volunteers allow these things to happen. It means the charity can expand in this way with the new BA degree programme. We thought it might be nice and symbolic." One of the newest volunteers, 17-year-old Frances Gillen, told the advertiser that working with Chicken Shed benefits the volunteers as much as the charity. "I would recommend volunteering here to anybody. It is really rewarding," said the A-level student during a break from helping out in the charity's press office. "I used to come to Chicken Shed performances when I was younger, and I have such good memories of the place. That's why I thought it would be good to come here and help out." Danny Page, 63, a volunteer of 23 years, who works 1 day a week in the admin office, agreed. She said, "This is a great place to be. I started volunteering when my daughter came here when she was younger, and I've just kept coming back." All 260 regular volunteers have been invited to the event and will be joined by 90 parent front-of-house volunteers who help out over the busy Christmas period.
An over-50s group is warning older people in the borough that falls and fractures could hide underlying health problems. More than 200 people attended an awareness day organised by Enfield Over-50s Forum at Edmonton Leisure Centre in the Broadway on Tuesday to hear from consultants from 3 hospitals encourage older people experiencing falls to get checked for osteoporosis. Figures show of the 680 patients attending accident and emergency at Barnet and Chase Farm hospitals in April 2011, more than half were over 60. Forum chairman Monty Meth said, "The event said the idea was to tell people how to avoid falls, but also to do something about getting fitter."
Plans for a new maternity and children's unit at North Middlesex Hospital have been submitted a year before services are due to move from Chase Farm. Proposals for the building at the hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, including women's outpatient services, birthing units, have been recommended for approval when they go before Enfield Council's Planning Committee next week. The new 3-storey building is in the northeastern corner of the site and will involve the demolition of the old fracture clinic, walk-in centre, X-ray department and surgical blocks. Both maternity and accident emergency services currently provided at Chase Farm Hospital in the Ridgeway will be shared between North Mid and Barnet hospitals when the site is downgraded in September next year. That closure is part of the plan approved by Health Secretary Andrew Lansley to shake up hospital services with the aim of improving health care. However, the proposals are fiercely opposed by health campaigners, Enfield Council, and many Enfield GPs.
An Edmonton man who made legal history by appearing in court in his hospital bed has been jailed for the double murder of his ex-wife and mother-in-law. Sergei Zolotovsky of Gareth Drive in Edmonton Green was sentenced to a minimum of 30 years after appearing at the Old Bailey on Friday. Zolotovsky, 44, stabbed his former partner Svetlana Zolotovsky, 40, before slitting her throat as she walked to work in Newham on August 12, 2010. He then went to their former home in East Ham and stabbed her mother, Antonina Belska, 70, who had come over from Latvia to visit her daughter. Zolotovsky stabbed the pensioner in her chest and her abdomen before setting fire to the house and cutting his wrists. However, he was saved by paramedics and charged by police a week later. Zolotovsky murdered his ex-wife and her mother 2 days after a financial settlement was made as part of a bitter divorce. Jurors took only 30 minutes to convict Zolotovsky of 2 counts of murder at the Old Bailey on March 23rd, and the Russian-born welder did not react as he lay propped up in a bed with folded arms. He had been paralysed from the waist down after 2 suicide attempts and had been permitted by the judge to appear in court in the bed. It is thought it was the first time a defendant appeared in a Crown Court in a hospital bed. Following the sentencing, a relative of the victims who wished to remain anonymous said, "Our family has suffered indescribable grief as a result of the cruelest murder of the closest and most loved members of our family. We have suffered extreme emotional stress. We are still grieving and remembering the loss of our loved ones every day." Acting Detective Chief Inspector Andrew Kelly of the Metropolitan Police said, "Svetlana's family have been devastated by Zolotovsky's actions that night. They will never get over their loss, but I hope they can derive some comfort from seeing Zolotovsky being brought to account for his actions."
Spurs legend Gary Mabbutt opened a sensory garden at a school for children with special needs on Friday. Work on the garden of Durant School in Pitfield Way started in September last year after the school put in a successful bid for £60,000 from the People's Millions, which is part of the big lottery fund. Defender Mabbutt, who played for Spurs for 16 years until he retired in 1998, got on board with the good cause and made a presentation to the lottery fund to help the school's application for the money. Durant School, which caters for children with special needs, has used the money to upgrade the existing garden to provide pupils with a relaxing and calming space. School business manager Eddie Banks said the 50-year-old former Spurs star was absolutely amazed to see the improvements made to the garden. She added, "We have created a safe area for parents and children to socialise, which is a really important part of lifelong learning for our autistic children. I think it is really important for us to say thank you to all the community who have supported us, including schools and businesses. It has made people realise we are there and what we are about, which is important because we are a small school. The garden boasts a sand cabin for children to play inside, bird boxes to encourage wildlife to the garden, and mosaics created by the children. Enfield businesses pulled together by lending the school skips to dispose of the waste and helped to lay out paved areas of the garden."
I have Michael Lavender's column. He is Enfield Conservative Group leader, and he says, "It has stopped raining, an opportunity for me to walk my dogs, Pebbles and Eddie, at 40 Hall, before sitting down to discover what the council is or isn't up to by reading the cabinet reports. What is buried in the small print of cabinet reports is a more accurate explanation of what is going on than the content of the expensive, colourful tat that Enfield Council puts through everyone's doors. As Conservative leader over the last 2 years, I have had less to do now the Labour Party is in power. My dogs, friends and family have seen more of me and the council less so. It is another 2 years until the next election. Cabinet reports are not pretty reading. The council overpaid £5.8 million of housing benefit last year. In 1 quarter it got only 55% of that money back. More than 40% of traffic penalty charge notices were not recovered. That's another £2.5 million. It seems pretty stupid to me to discourage shoppers by charging for parking on a Sunday, but not collecting the charges from those who do turn up and don't pay. A mad rush is underway to educate primary school children in temporary buildings across the borough. Teachers, parents and pupils are justifiably irate. Another 10 properties, some in the Greenbelt, are being sold by the council to make ends meet. All pretty sad when Labour's criticism of me was that I left more than £96 million in reserves 2 years ago. No doubt that has already been spent. The council's waste strategy is in tatters. I remember being a lone voice among 7 authorities about that issue. Pebbles and Eddie give a bigger sigh than me. Only another 2 years of extended walks before I'm busy in power, resolving the Labour Party's mess again. We've reached the end of our programme for this week, so from the team of Joan, Beverly, Rod and myself, Lilian, with Cassandra and Colin on controls, it's goodbye. Goodbye. Cheerio. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet and return the packet to us as soon as possible in readiness for the next edition. The Enfield Talking newspaper will be with you in 1 week's time.